Good afternoon, friends, Rotarians, and guests. We're thrilled to again be joined by Danny Boy O'Connor with the Outsiders House and the new executive director, and to learn more about what they contribute to our community. First, DJ Morrow Ingram will lead us in invocation and pledge, and guest introductions will follow from past President Bob Sade.
Thank you, President Daniel. Let us pray. Gracious Creator, we come before you with hearts full of gratitude for those who dedicate their hands, their time, and their hearts to the preservation of our history. Thank you for the caretakers, the historians, the builders, the dreamers, those who see more than stone and timber, who hear the quiet echoes of the past and choose to protect them. Through their work, stories live on. Through their passion, truth is remembered. Bless those who labor to preserve the places where history was born, where voices spoke, feet marched, hands built, and hearts dared to hope. May their efforts be a light for generations to come, a bridge between what was and what can be. We thank you for the wisdom in honoring what came before us, for the beauty found in time-worn places, and for the sacred work of keeping memory alive. May we never forget that by preserving the past, we enrich the soul of the future. And they all sit together. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we are always excited to have guests join us. At this time, I'm going to introduce the guests and their host Rotarian, if you'll stand briefly, and then we'll hold our applause until all have been introduced. Mike Miller is here with Phil Viles. I understand Mike was recruited by our mayor to work for the city of Tulsa. Glad to have you today. Caleb Sloan is here with John Croissant. We have a new member who's not yet been introduced as a new member, so we're going to take her as a guest today, Heather Lehman, who will join us, I think, in a week or two. Glad to have you as a guest today. And another person who is a guest but is well known to the club, Eric Ortega, will be introduced in the next week or two as a new member. And we have a guest that I want to explain just briefly. I saw the movie Outsiders a long time ago. And if I didn't see it yesterday, I don't remember much about it. But I found out from this guest that this is the owner of the DX station that was in the movie. And if you remember, apparently a couple of I think Tom Cruise and one other actor actually worked at the DX station. And so he is here in honor of our speaker today, Gary Colson. We have one guest Rotarian, and that's David Hughes from Southside. Hi, David. Thank you. Come again whenever you can.
Welcome to our guests and to our two future and returning members. We're excited to have you, and what a cool story that relates to our speaker. Kind of shows you the kind of people you get to meet when you're a member of our club. Couple of announcements before we get into our program. We're looking for a few more volunteers to serve as court marshals at Tulsa Tough. The location will be MLK and Reconciliation Way, the Guthrie Green side. Shifts run between 8:45 and 8:15 p.m., and I believe that'll be on the Saturday event. Court marshals, there is some training involved. The job is to help manage crossing points for people who are looking to cross the track at a safe time. Training will be May 30th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at Tulsa Tough headquarters, located at 850 East Admiral Boulevard. Registration link and more information is in the Monday message email. Our trivia night has been rescheduled to Wednesday, June 25th at Stokely Event Center. It'll be from 6 to 9 p.m. There will be sandwiches, chips, and dip provided. There will be a raffle and some door prizes involved. Cost to participate will be $25 per person. This has been one of our more popular events over the last few years, so I encourage you to sign up. Registration is also in your Monday message email. Finally, the 2025, the second iteration of the Golden Circle Gala, will be held Friday, September 26th at Southern Hills Country Club. Join us for a beautiful evening of food, music, auction, and fun as we celebrate the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation and raise more money to continue the good works that our foundation funds and the work that our club members do throughout the community. Tickets and sponsorship information, again, posted in Monday Message. Be sure to check those emails. There's a lot of information in there. Let's go right to our Rotarian of the Day. Monica Martin serves as the Director of Development at Tulsa Day Center for the Homeless. In this role, she oversees fundraising efforts, including major gifts, donor identification, the annual funding event, special events, and the $16 million capital campaign. In her role, she partners with community organizations and frequently speaks publicly to raise awareness about Tulsa Day Center and the comprehensive services it provides to individuals experiencing or at risk of homelessness. She was born in California but moved to Oklahoma as a young girl and found an early passion in helping people in need. Prior to her role with the Day Center, she worked for other charitable organizations, including Stand in the Gap and Little Lighthouse. Service above self is evident in everything that she does for Tulsa. Please welcome our Rotarian of the Day, Monica Martin.
Good afternoon. It is, well, hi. It is with pleasure to introduce these two folks today. I have had the joy of getting to know Danny the last couple of years, and what he has done for Tulsa definitely put us on the map for sure, and his love for Tulsa. And so I'm excited to see this next chapter. I was glad to be a part of finding Ashley, and I look forward for you all to hear the future of what's about to happen with the Outsiders House. Danny is the founder of the Outsiders House Museum in Tulsa, a landmark dedicated to preserving the legacy of S.E. Hinton's iconic novel and Francis Ford Coppola's 1980 film adaptation. A founding member of the multi-platinum hip-hop group House of Pain, O'Connor discovered the original film house in 2009 and led the charge to restore and transform it into a nationally recognized museum. His passion for history, preservation, and pop culture continues to inspire generations of fans. Now that's Danny. Now I'm going to talk about Ashley. There's a lot more I could say about Danny, but I don't want to steal his thunder. He's going to be sharing with us soon. Ashley is our new executive director, and she's the newest member of the Outsiders House Museum and is a seasoned leader, excited to bring her expertise in development, marketing, and communication strategy to the organization. Her diverse background spans healthcare, education, economic development, tourism, media, and broadcast journalism. As a former global marketing professional, Ashley led international campaigns and brand strategies for major companies, including Topgolf and Top Tracer, as well as consumer brands like Evolve Skateboards and Arlo Security and Doorbell. Before transitioning to strategic development, Ashley spent 15 years as a television news anchor. She honed her storytelling skills but deep connections with her audience and navigated the high-pressure demands of live reporting. Since leaving the anchor desk, Ashley has played a key role in launching pioneering initiatives, including the Cherokee Nation Film Office, now Cherokee Film, and has led high-impact campaigns for organizations such as Hillcrest Healthcare System, Tulsa Public Schools, and Cherokee National Business. Grounded in journalism and marketing communications, Ashley brings a powerful blend of strategic insight and creative execution to every project. Her passion lies in elevating stories, engaging audiences, and building community. Alongside the Outsiders House Museum team, she looks forward to shaping bold new chapters in the museum's future. Please welcome Danny Boy O'Connor and Ashley.
Good afternoon. My name is Danny Boy O'Connor, and I am your speaker today. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Monica. You understated your importance to us and the museum, and she really does walk it like she talks it. And Ashley, welcome. I think we met when I first moved here, and I used to run into you in functions. And I got to be honest, when we had an open call for a executive director, I thought, oh, I know Ashley, I don't know. This is your first time hearing it. So, I was like, I was hoping, for something that I didn't know. And so we took the meeting, and we were blown away. And I love it when I'm, don't take it personal. She's going to quit now. But we love you already, and everything you've done has showed us that you're the perfect person for this, so thank you. With that being said, I don't know if we're going to, I guess I'll start from the start, and I apologize in advance for anybody who's heard my story. I feel like I'm a circuit speaker at this point. Story hasn't changed that much, but neither has my passion and my love for you guys, Tulsa, and all things SC Hinton related. I saw the movie, too, in '83 when it first came out. I did not read the book. The movie changed my life. For the first time in my young adult life, I saw the way I felt inside, which was separate, apart, neglected, etc., being portrayed on the screen, and with cool guys in denim jackets and slick back hair. And I thought, well, if this is the best life gets, just running around with greasers, then it's okay by me. And so that was something that I held really dear to me. Used to come on TV, once a year, and we'd get to see it. And I've always had a really strong love for this thing. It would be years later before I read the book. As my friend Steve Sokolsky used to say, the book is way better than the film, and I agree now that I've read it. But if you would have told me, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago that I'd be here in Tulsa, Oklahoma speaking at the Rotary Club, I would have thought you either bumped your head or were crazy. And so here I am for the third time, but it's an honor and a privilege, and I say that, sincerely. In 2009, one of my bands called La Coca Nostra was playing a place called Kane's Ballroom, and that was like a bucket list place for us to play. Prior to that, I had a group called House of Pain. You guys don't look like a rap audience, so I'll help you out here, but if you've ever been to a sporting event, perhaps you've heard a song called Jump Around. It's a pretty popular song, and it did pretty well for me. And, I guess I'll back up. Growing up, I felt not only like an outsider, I was a Brooklyn kid who was raised in Los Angeles. My mother would send me back every summer to New York because I was a handful. I was a latchkey kid. I'm sure some people remember what that was. And we were free range. I mean, we got to do whatever we wanted to do, which we thought was cool, but very unsupervised. And I always felt like I was just like, not wanted, not lovable, and so the outsiders changed my life. And while everybody was going to school, getting an education, I was ditching, smoking cigarettes, and doing all of the wrong things. And, my mother used to have a mantra. She said, you'd be just like your father, you'd be dead in prison by the time you're 21. And, she kept repeating that. So the more I heard that, the more I felt, well, all right, if the best it gets is that, so be it. Little did she know I would start a group in her garage drinking her beer called House of Pain, and we would sell 1 million records right out the gate with our single. And before long, I had more money than I knew what to do with, and boy, did I let everybody know about it. And I ran that career right into a ground. It only took about 6 years for me to, which is a long time the way I was rolling. But 6 years later, I was literally, out of that band, bankrupt, not only financially, but mentally and physically and spiritually, and, not doing so well. I'd picked up drinking in ways I had never done before, and I started to add accelerants to that, and to keep me up longer to drink more. And literally, jails, institution, and death is what probably was going to be the route I was going to go, just like my father. And I thought music had saved me. I thought if I had enough money and stuff like that, everything would be fine. But my experience is money doesn't fix that inside hole. I just celebrated 20 years of sobriety, and I know this is not an AA meeting, but I want to get that out of the way. And for me, it's breaking generational curses. But at 10 years of sobriety, I remember getting my 10-year chip and thinking, wow, how did I get 10 years? And the following thought was like, where's my stuff? Like I didn't have kids, the white picket fence, the, big mahogany desk with Mr. O'Connor in the front. And I started to, think, wow, this is not how I pictured myself in 10 years. And I was kind of disappointed at 10 years of sobriety. It's a weird thing. And I had a friend, I'll never forget, he kept saying, don't leave before the miracle, my friend. God's got a plan for you. And I couldn't figure out what that plan was. But in 2009, we went on tour. We played the historic Cain's Ballroom. And it was on that visit to Tulsa that I had the epiphany. Oh my goodness, I think this is where The Outsiders was filmed. I think this is the town she wrote about. And I went looking for these locations. And 2009, I've said it before, and I know you guys know, but downtown 2009 to 2025, completely different experience. It was beautiful down there, but I felt like I was on the back lot of a movie set, and there was, anytime you see one man riding two bikes, you're in a bad neighborhood. And so I knew it probably was, and I went on the internet, and there was a site called Tulsa TV Memories. It's still there, very antiquated, old school HTML, but they told me where the drive-in was, the Admiral Twin, which we're so lucky to have that place. Circle Cinema, which in 2009, it was boarded up, and I've been told they were trying to demo that whole block, but they saved it. And then I found the park from the movie, and I know the gentleman before us said he hadn't seen the movie in a while, but the movie theater is the only thing, that she wrote about as you open The Outsiders. As I stepped out into the darkness, I had two things on my mind, A Ride Home and Paul Newman. So that's the theater she was talking about. But for 20 years prior, it was a porno theater. And when I got here in 2009, it was boarded up, ready to get demolished. And by finding the park in the movie, I was able to find the house, which is a stone's throw. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I felt like this 14-year-old kid was walking in a fantasy. It was mind-blowing to me that, one, all of this stuff was still here. Two, that it looked like it did in '83 when I saw the movie. And four, was there was a for sale sign in front of The Outsiders, and they wanted $42,000. And I thought, dang, I can't believe it's here, and two, I can't believe it's for sale. Doesn't anybody understand the importance of this house? But I did not buy it then. And I always say, in LA in 2009, you couldn't plant a tree for $42,000 in front of your home. So I couldn't imagine how that house could be for sale, one, two, that it was still existing, and three, that nobody saw what I saw. But for the next 5 years, fate would keep bringing me back and forth through the U.S., and I'd always make a beeline for Tulsa and look at that house. And after 5 years of showing up every year to see that house, I realized that the Habitat for Humanities was coming through that neighborhood, and they were tearing block by block down. And while I'm a fan of what they do at the Habitat, I am not a fan of them tearing down historical houses. And I just had this sneaky suspicion that nobody understood how important this house was to us as kids, and what it could possibly be, which would be a museum. And I kept thinking, why doesn't somebody turn this thing into a museum for 42 grand? And finally that voice in my head said, why don't you do it? And that was not the voice I wanted to hear. When you're a rapper and you make a few hit singles, we got what's called mailbox money, and I like to consider myself fun employed. So I was not looking for a job in Tulsa, Oklahoma to build a museum. But it just kept coming to me that, if somebody doesn't do something, this house might not make it. And so finally I got engaged, and I figured a way to find the owner. We contacted her. She said the tenants are 8 months behind in rent. They're tearing it to shreds. I said, I know it was for sale for $42,000. She said it was. She said, I won't take a penny less than 20 grand. I had my friend on the phone because he was doing the heavy lifting. I don't probably come across too good on the phone, but he said, ma'am, with all due respect, I've seen it myself. It's a something hole. And she said, fine. She said, make me an offer. We offered her 15 grand, and she said, sold. And right, you say, wow, now. Trust me, it is a wow thing. At that time, I had a partner who lived here. I met him when I was visiting. He's an expert in all things Tulsa, Zach. He was my partner in this thing. He was going to go in halves with me. And when we got that offer and it got real, he bailed out on me. So even somebody who knew the legacy, loved it, didn't have faith that it could be something. And I ended up having to come up with the money myself, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at that time, I had made more on accident in the 90s than I had ever made in the 2000s, I assure you that, and money was tight. So I was playing with all I had. 15 to get in the house, close to 5 to move the tenants out and put them somewhere nicer than that they were. And then I got in that house and I started to cry because I realized I bit off way more than I could chew. I mean, that house was a complete teardown, and I didn't know what to do, you know, and I prayed on it, and the response was like, lower your ego and humble yourself and ask for help. And I thought, well, no better place to ask for help and humble myself than on the Internet of Things. And so I put a photo of the house with me in front of the house, and I started to ask for help. And it's funny what happens when you ask for help. I didn't know this growing up, but sometimes if you ask for help, the help will show up. And my belief is, knowing what I know, you know, as a native New Yorker who grew up in Los Angeles, I don't believe if this house was on either coast that I would have got the support that I got from you guys here. There's just something special about Okies. There's something special about Tulsa. And there's something special about you guys. And the help just started to pour in. And it was life-changing for me. It was miraculous. And it was a total God shot for me because, you know, you grow up and you hear all the things, you know, about, you know, love thy brother and you know, and all the things that you guys do as Rotarians, but I never saw it in practice, and you're never going to see that in Hollywood. You're never going to see anybody giving anybody a hand, so I can, you know, stop you right there. But when I got here, I saw people actually, you know, doing the real thing, which was helping me for no other reason than saying, hey, I love the outsiders too, and I can help you cut the grass this weekend. And I was like, you know, I don't have a budget for that. And they're like, we're going to do it for free after my daughter's soccer game, dude, don't worry. And I was like, wow. And somebody came and fixed the chimney that was leaking into the house. He's like, I'm going to flash your chimney. And I don't know what that means. I was like, you know, why? But sure as hell, he flashed the chimney, and the house didn't leak no more. So, you know, I went to my apartment and started flashing things that were broken. It didn't work, but he flashed the chimney, and then the floor guy did the floors, and the fence guy fixed the fence. And before long, man, I was like, why am I? And I was going back and forth at the time, driving here from LA, which is a fantastic drive, and I'm not being sarcastic. I got to see what was left of Route 66, which unfortunately a lot of that stuff is gone since 2009, the roadside stuff. And I fell in love with you guys, and I fell in love with the possibilities here. And I know that the original Tulsa flag says Opportunity Unlimited, and that's what I found here, you know. I'm a product of the San Fernando Valley, if anybody knows California, and it's right over the Santa Monica Mountains, which will end you up in Hollywood. And if you know, they say the odds are good, but the goods are odd. And if you have something odd that you want to put it on display, if you go over to Hollywood and you can get them to salute it, you may have something there. I mean, 1992, being a white hip-hop act was still kind of like, really? Like, what? I used to tell people that, and they would be like blown away. Now it's common, but 92, you didn't see so much of that. And they thought, good luck, kid, but this is, you know, it worked out. All of that to say, I got here, you guys started to help me, and we started to build this thing. And I bought the house, I had one poster to my name. I had nothing collectible. I didn't know even where to start. But you guys like put a battery in my back. It was just like incredible, the love and the support. I ended up telling my wife at the time, I said, hey man, I don't know why I keep coming back here. We need to move to Tulsa. And so I moved to Tulsa in 2016, a little over 8 years ago, I think. And I never looked back. And you know, while I don't have a wife anymore, I still got the outsider's house, and it worked out okay for both of us. And she's happy, I'm happy. But I do want to say this, is, you know, I built this house just because I was a fan of and I shouldn't say I, because there's no I in any of this. We built this house because we love the movie. But what I didn't realize is that there's a whole generation after generation after generation of school kids who are reading this book, and for the first time in their life, they're connecting, and they're saying, maybe there's hope for me, you know, and maybe it ain't so bad. And maybe it ain't, you know, the haves and the have-nots will always be an issue, but these kids, they devour this book. It means something special to them. And when they find out that the author is female, wrote this book at Will Rogers at 15 and a half years old, failed English and got a D+ in creative writing, they're like, yeah, there's hope for me. And I was one of those kids too, you know. Again, my mother's mantra was, you'll be dead or in prison by the time you're 21. And she wasn't far off. I was doing all the things that you would need to do those things. And but fate had different plans, and you know, here I am, and it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And I chalk that up to not the outsiders, not S.C. Hinton. I chalk it up to everyday Tulsans who came for no apparent reason other than they loved what I was doing, thought my crazy idea was viable, and they wanted to help. And it's changed the way I look at life and the world myself now. You know, being sober, the 12th step is about giving back, and it's, you know, easier said than done. But for me, I found a way to give back, which is to do this museum and offer the services that we have to school children. This semester alone, we did over 5,000 school children. I usually say 6, it's around there, it's 5.5, whatever. But it's incredible, and they come from 5 different states around, and we don't even have TPS in our system yet. We will next year, but we've done that all through the surrounding states and the surrounding school districts. And, you know, you can get too close to a project and can't see it anymore, but that all ends as soon as I see the kids and their smiles and their cries and their laughter and their joy. And it's like, wow, like God did for me what I couldn't do for myself, which was provide the kids something to inspire them. And I feel like my job is just to make sure that this thing stays where it is and that it continues to grow, and that, you know, we can build on top of what we already have. How am I doing on time? I can't see. Wrap it up, you're saying? PowerPoint. Oh, I forgot I have a PowerPoint. Now really powerful, look out. So that's the house in the movie. This is the house how I found it, and that's actually cleaned up. So I told you, I paid the people who were living there, who were 8 months behind on rent, $5,000 to leave. But they left me parting gifts, and that was sweet. That took 3 days to clean up all of those things, and that was after we cleaned it up. This house was a complete teardown. I mean, every part of this house needed a new house, and I have no idea when it comes to how to restore, remodel, or that's not I'm from LA, like I said. We don't know how to do any of that stuff. But we just started to do it. I feel like now I have a PhD in how all of this stuff works. So if you've ever redone a house or remodeled an old 100-year-old house, you'll understand the lengths that we had to go to get this up to snuff. But this is what it looks like currently. Every room that was featured in the movie is an exact replica and as close as we could get to looking like you just walked back in time. The collection is the largest collection on earth of not only movie wardrobe and memorabilia. We have cars from the movie. We have the largest collection of S.C. Hinton Outsiders novels. It's been printed in over 33 languages. It's probably more now. This thing just keeps going and going and going. And I know, you know, it's fair to say if you come to Tulsa and you don't see the Outsiders house, did you really come to Tulsa? And one of those dudes is Jack White. That's a band in the top corner, the Dropkick Murphys. That's some unknown actor named Leonardo DiCaprio or something like that. I don't know what his name is. Rob Lowe's in the middle with his son. And Rob Lowe had his 18th birthday in that house on St. Patty's Day. He came back on his birthday at 50-something, and he tried on his wardrobe, and it still fits. So I think something ain't right. And then that's the beautiful Miss S.C. Hinton sitting at the front porch. Now, I want to tell you that when I first met her, I was terrified. You know, I've met every rock star and movie, and I met everybody growing up in Hollywood. But meeting an author, that was like a whole other level. I was terrified. And I remember walking into the R Bar where she invited me to come meet her and tell her my crazy plan. I didn't tell her exactly what it was until I got there. And when I got there, she said, "What are you drinking?" I said, "Water," and I could see the disappointment come over her face, like, damn. Who is this weirdo? But we hit it off right away, and we got into the weeds. And I just said, "Listen, the reason I asked you to come meet me was twofold. One, I wanted to meet you and just tell you what a difference you've made for me and so many of my friends. And number two, I have an idea. I wanted to turn the house into a museum. Would that bother you?" And she said, "Danny, I got enough problems with my own house. You feel free to do whatever you want to do." And since then, we've grown into this wonderful friendship. Unfortunately, her husband passed away a couple weeks ago, so I do worry about her for that. She was married like 50-something years. They met at TU. They were sat alphabetically next to each other. David Enhoff was a beautiful soul, and you know, I know he's with God now, but it still worries me for her. Anyway, we've had most of the actors come by. They've donated some of their pieces that they wore in the movie. Ralph Macchio had his shoes, and he said, "Danny, they gave me the shoes. They were brand new, and I thought no self-respecting greaser would let new shoes be seen on camera." So he said for 3 days he stuck them in the mud, he scratched them on the curb, and it wasn't until he broke the laces and tied them together that he felt that they were ready for prime time. And so he gave them to me, and as I was getting them, he pulled them back real quick, and he said, "Hey, man, if this museum doesn't work out, I want my shoes back." And I was like, so far, so good. Yeah, we have the original camera clapper board. We have wardrobe. We have Our Cup Runneth Over, and now I start to collect all S.C. Hinton related stuff. what do we got here? Just more. All the autographs on the right-hand side are anybody who's been involved in this movie. I don't care if you're the star or you worked catering. If you had a hand in it, we want you on our wall of fame, and we're running out of space. And this is the future. And, yeah, this is, so at the end of the day, what I started to realize is what I'm good at is identifying trends and identifying, like, tipping points. And when I got to Tulsa, I could tell there's something really special and magical here. And, everybody works so well together. And then I started to see all of these kids coming en masse to our museum. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to not only show them The Outsiders, but to show all of the movies that she's worked on. The Outsiders, Tex, Rumblefish, that was then, this is now. And then to include all of her novels in one museum where we can not only celebrate her and inspire, but we can implement all of the new stuff that we don't have at the house. I mean, most of the kids that I meet, they got their face straight down into the tablet. They barely look up anymore. And we don't offer any of that, so it's a breath of fresh air for kids to just be around, authenticness at our museum. But eventually we want to build something bigger in North Tulsa. I'm calling it a museum, but it'll be a museum masquerading. It'll be actually a learning center masquerading as a museum. And what I want to do is do the think tank and teach kids how to write their story, teach kids how to act, teach kids how to sing, whatever they want to do in the creative field. That way your kids don't have to go to Hollywood to do all that, and they don't have to go to New York. Not that there's anything wrong with New York or Hollywood, but I think that you guys have such an authentic voice, and by the time you make it to Hollywood or New York, we strip that from you and we reroute it and redesign it and put it out as your story. I think that you guys, as a whole, need to take that power back and go circumnavigate that whole thing to do that. So, and I'm impressed, the Cherokee Nation, that was also something very high on my list, what they're doing with, promoting that. It's the worst time you could ever be in the movie business or music business, but if you're trying to get in, it's the best time. It's like investing. You want to buy when everything is down. So we're working on that as well, implementing in that. All of that to say, I don't know what to say other than thank you for giving me a life beyond my wildest dreams. My friend told me, don't give up before the miracle, and he said, God's got something for you. And I called him when this started to happen. I go, hey man, I finally found my thing. Because at 10 years of sobriety, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. When you used to rap for a living, there's not much work for a former rapper. There's no 401ks, there's no pension plan, there's none of that. And so with sobriety, God, and the hard work of everyday Tulsans, we've been able to build an incredible museum. And now I'm passing off that reins to someone way more capable than me. I had the executive director role since day one, and I always say I'm not an executive nor am I director yet. And so I'm the founder of the Outsiders House Museum, and with that, I will let Ashley pick it up from there. Thank you.
Danny is so tall. Again, Danny, thank you so much for the awesome confidence that you've given to me, to Monica, to the entire team for having me on. It's hard to come up following that as such a dynamic speaker who has such a big story. And I'm like, hi, I'm Ashley. I'm from Colcord, Oklahoma. It's a very small town in northeastern Oklahoma that to this day does not have a stoplight. It's an economically depressed area, so I have really seen it all. I've lived in 6 cities as an adult, everywhere from LA to San Francisco. When I was leaving San Francisco, I thought, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go next? I had lived in Tulsa previously. Again, I come from northeastern Oklahoma, from northwest Arkansas, and all I wanted to do was get out. And so I did, and then all I wanted to do was come home. And someone asked me, well, why Tulsa? And that's because I wanted big city, but I wanted still to be close, and I wanted still to be close to my family. My mom comes over every weekend. We joke I have a guest bedroom, but it's really my mom's room. So she's with us. So I am thrilled to be with you today. Again, what an awesome responsibility that has been instilled by me. Danny always says, like, oh, we've got a new executive director. And I'm like, well, I am the newest person to the leadership team because Danny drives the vision and he drives the direction. And I'm just thrilled to take us with the team into our next phase. And we do have lots of items that we are really looking forward to. Again, it's funny, when the news hit, and I actually had a friend, I'm also a volunteer, deeply connected to volunteering here in the community, and I had a friend who said, we've got this opportunity, my friend has it, her name's Ann, my friend's name is Lolly, she's connected to Ann, and she said, I think the vision and the way that you're rooted in the community, this would be great for you, and I said, okay, let's talk, what is it? And I said, literally, it was like 7:30 that night. She connected Ann and I connected with Ann the next morning. Little did I know, Danny was like, absolutely not. But here, but here we are. And another thing is, how many of you have seen the film, have read the book, The Outsiders? And it probably has been a while, right? So I encourage you, two things. One, come visit the museum. Two, revisit the roots. If you haven't seen it in a while, our kids connect with this story in a way that people do not connect with their, with their phones, with, their games. And it is truly something that is life-changing. It's amazing the amount of people that come to the museum from near and far. When the news came out that I was taking this new role, I had people coming out of the woodworks. And again, because I've lived all over the place, I had one friend, and he lives in Wausau, Wisconsin. And he said, I didn't know you were in Tulsa. We made a special trip to Tulsa. And he sent me the picture of them in front of the Outsiders House Museum. So the story just resonates. Again, Danny said it's been in 33 different languages, the novel. It resonates. And for so many, it is life-changing because, again, my dad is no longer with us. He passed from Parkinson's, but my dad comes from, we were cattle ranchers in Colcord, Oklahoma. My mom actually immigrated to the States when she was 8. She was one of those kids that didn't know English. She learned it in school. She taught it to her parents. So we understand what hard work is. And so when you have kids who don't connect at school and think that there's the haves, the have-nots, and let's be honest, there are, when they read this novel, they too know that they can be anything and do anything no matter their circumstances. And the Outsiders House Museum is tangible for this idea of a dream to come to life for them. It's also tangible for their education to come to life for them. 75% of Oklahomans, this is required reading to read S.E. Hinton's novel, and in all Tulsa public schools, it is required reading as well. So when schools and students come to this museum, they see what they read absolutely in front of them, and they're in awe. And that's one of the things that I'm so excited is to be able to continue to make sure that this museum and that the growth is here so that every kid who reads this can continue to see that anything is possible. So where are we going to go, right? So we have seen such awesome things, and I mean, kudos to Danny, hats off to Danny and the team for what they've done. I mean, they are literally, and I know it seems so trivial, and they are literally changing lives. I mean, if you go to our website and you can read some of the quotes, I mean, we have, it's funny, there's actually a teacher from Colcord who was saying, she wrote, because we asked people to, you can write messages. She said that this instills people who don't like to read at all, and it instills them a dream to want to read. There's just so many things and so many people. I was at the museum over the Memorial Day weekend, and I met someone from Phoenix, and she is going to be a senior in high school, and she said, they actually called the museum, and they said, we're coming through, and you guys close at 4. And we said, we'll stay open late for you. She's directing the Outsiders at her high school, and she really connects with it. So that's just one little story in a very small snippet over the holiday weekend. These stories are everywhere. And so what an awesome responsibility that we have this here in Tulsa. So part of our growth then is to expand. So there's really 3 things. I call it engagement, preservation, and partnership, so that we can ensure that every student, every person who resonates with this story, every person who has felt marginalized or has felt like the world is against them knows that it's not, that there is good in this world. So through that, there's a few things that we would like to do. And I just want to say, last year in 2024, 20,000 people came through the museum. That's a lot. And so many of them are from out of state. And that means tourism dollars. That means money back in our economy. That means people are eating at our restaurants. They are staying in our hotels. They're getting gas at whether it's the DX or, the Quick Trip. They are seeing Tulsa. And that's what we want to continue to do. And so there's a few things that we would like, and we urge you, if you haven't been to the museum, please come on out. If you feel so compelled, there's a QR code on the back of one of these flyers. We would love any donations. $10 even could mean that a student can have some educational material, can take home, can continue to dream big. Through that, we are going to, as we continue to grow, and that's what they've tasked me with, no small task, right? As we continue to grow, we hope to have more educational opportunities. Next year, every single 8th grader with Tulsa Public Schools will come through the Outsiders House Museum. So we'd like to be able to give them something tangible to take away, and also more educational programs. We also want to preserve and enhance the museum. Man, what Danny has done, I mean, you saw that house, right? And if you haven't been out there and you saw the pictures today, it is incredible. But there's still more that we can do and more to preserve so that we can make sure that this is with us forever and ever. And then we expand as well so that we have a learning center, AKA museum, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, tell the kids, So we want to make sure that we can do any structural improvements to make sure that this is long-lasting. And then we want to build strategic partnerships. Again, growth doesn't happen overnight, which is why I'm like, $10 will do a lot. But also other partnerships so that we can continue this amazing mission and have an evolution. We also want to host more events that are drilled into the community, the arts, film, books. So all of that is part of our idea for growth. And then we want you to save the date, October 12th at the OK Pop Museum. We are having our Stay Gold Gala. Which way do you say it? I always say gala, but sometimes it's gala, and I'm not sure if that's just my regional from where I'm from. So October 12th, we'd love for you to put that on your calendars and be part of that. Join the mission. Again, like I said, if you haven't seen the film lately, if you haven't read the book, if you haven't been to the museum, there is a connection to this book. There is someone in every single one of us. My mom actually hadn't seen the film in a hot second, and so she invited all of her friends over, and they had a watch party, and I mean, every single person that watched that film that my mom hosted sent me a text or gave me a call. It's just chilling to watch that humanity and that connection. And so that's what we're doing, and that's what Danny has done with the Outsiders House Museum. It is about growth. It's about connection. It's about staying gold. It's about knowing that there is good in this world. And I know that there's good in this world because you guys are here today, and you're listening to us, and we thank you for your time, and we look forward to the growth, and we want to take all of your questions, any suggestions that you have. We want to open it up to the room because we know your time is precious, and we only have until 1. Again, thank you to all of you for being here, and thank you for having us.
Before I open it up, I just want to shout out Gary. That gentleman right there is one of my best friends, and I look up to him, what he's done. We made our museum, and I got a call one day, and he's like, "Hey, this is Gary from Sperry." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, I got a hold of the DX over here. And I'm like, "That guy will never give it to you. I already talked, already tried it." He's like, "Well, it's my buddy, and we can do something there." And at first I was apprehensive, but Gary, you've built something tremendous over there. Your love for Sperry and Tulsa is like my love for Tulsa, and it's things like you, it's people like you that constantly, the energy back and forth is so great because it's just to watch this thing keep growing. And it means a lot that you came down to hear me. I know you've heard this story a million times, and the world needs more Garys. And so, yeah. That being said, let's hear for Gary. And then if you have any questions for us, let me know. And you're perfect for this gig. So as you're speaking, I'm nudging Monica like, check her, watch her go. Yeah. So, it was like having a baby and then giving it up. I had to make sure that it was the right home. So, yeah.
Q&A. I just want to say I'm walking alongside him. He's still the driving force.
Who's got questions? Monica says we have a couple minutes, and she's stressing over there about it. Monica. It's a great question, sir. So the movie came about from a librarian in Fresno, California named Miss Masikian. And she had her students reading this book, and she saw a tipping point as well, meaning she said, Danny, the girls will read anything I give them, but the boys wouldn't have none of it. And then they found this book, The Outsiders, and I started to see them like to section off into a couple of them reading in a thing over here and over there. And she said the whole school fell in love with this new book that, that they had been introduced to. And so she thought before the school year ended, she wanted to have 100 of her students write Francis Ford Coppola, of all people, encouraging him to turn it into a movie. It would take an hour and a half to unpack how much serendipity and fate that her letters got to him. It should be a documentary in itself, but I will say that we brought her back here 2 years ago. We put up a plaque at the Circle Cinema. John Bynum gave her the key to the city. We did a Q&A and after watching the movie, and during the Q&A, the same question. She said, they asked her, what made you send these letters to Francis Ford Coppola, who was at the time known for The Godfather 1 and 2 and Apocalypse Now? And she said, well, he did such a masterful job staying true to the novel, The Black Stallion, that I thought he was a shoo-in. And I had heard that story before, so I was like, cool, the audience was impressed, but I saw my friend at the back of the room raise his hand, and I was like, well, why is he raising his hand? I said, Randy? And he said, yes. He said, Miss Masikian, I hate to be the one to tell you this after all of these years, but you sent it to the wrong person. Francis Ford Coppola was the executive producer, had nothing to do with this movie other than financing it. The director you were looking for was so-and-so and so from France, who after making this movie, we ended up just making commercials. Had your letter had found that person, we wouldn't be sitting in this audience today. And that still plays true right now. We would not be here without that butterfly effect. If you only knew how many stages those letters went to before they got to Coppola's hand, and he ended up on a flight with nothing to read, and he started reading the letters and then read the book and goes, this is a movie that we should make. And so many remarkable stories that are involved in this. This is why you can never really paint yourself into a corner, because it's just so much to love about it. Thank you for the question. Sir? I love it. Name two more. Compared to who? Sir. Yes, sir. I know it has to be somewhere in North Tulsa. No, sir, is the answer to that question. I had my eye on this one piece of property over by Langdon University. And the reason I had my eye on it is because that was where the pet shop in the movie Rumblefish was. And there's a park there, and then there's all this land. But I sat quiet on that and was in no position to, negotiate. I actually did talk to Anna America, who was at the parks thing, and they weren't even sure if they owned it, if Langdon did. It was a little bit messy. And then one day we had Beverly Johnson, I believe her name is, for the Tulsa Public Libraries. And she came and did a tour. This is pretty recently. And we were talking, and she asked the exact same question. If you were to do a new museum, where would you put it? I said, you're going to not believe it, but it's an incredible lot. It's right across from Langdon. And I saw her eyes start to light up, Langston University, and it's an incredible. She goes, that's the plot I just bought. We're putting a new library there. And I was like, what? So yes, there's a public library going there, but she's going to give us, she gave us the footing from the original building that we have in our collection, which we're going to, make into a preserved artifact. But she said once it's built that we could probably most likely build out a nice little display cabinet in there with Rumblefish collectibles to show people not only is this a cool library in North Tulsa, but there's some movie history here as well. So that's a long answer to your question. If you've got a lot, and I remember meeting you when I first came here and spoke, and you had something to do over, I think, of the ropes course, or maybe, am I correct, or the park, or? Okay, either way, if listen, we want to keep it in North Tulsa because it's a North Tulsa story, and North Tulsa is a beautiful side of town, and I think there's a lot of people who are scared to go past, go under the IDL and to that, and I don't know why, because it's nothing but good, hardworking people over there, so I would love to find a home in that quadrant, if you will. You're welcome, thank you. Anybody else? Sir?
Just hearing about you, around the nation and stuff is kind of pretty phenomenal. Is there a set curriculum that the high school kids or junior high school kids, their teachers can work off of and connect with you all in order to get the curriculum and stuff?
And yes is the answer. The teachers usually teach, there's other books that are made that kind of teach this thing, so they have their own methods, but when they come to the house, they get papers and they have to fill out questions, and it's a Q&A to see how much they remember and how, well-studied they are on it. That's part of the problem, and we didn't touch on it before. For me, we built this museum because I felt like it needed to be remembered as this pop culture icon from this film, but I didn't even have in my purview that kids would, of course they would, be loving this. And what I found is with the amount of students that we have now coming through, that we needed to develop more of these educational programs. And then on the days that we allocate, Monday through Thursday, for school tours only, because we're only open 3 days a week, and we get them from all over the world, anywhere from 80 to 150 people a day, unadvertised. Now there's a musical. I'm sure you guys are familiar. If you're not, there's a hit musical. It won 4 Tonys. No, is it Tonys? Mm-hmm. It's Tonys. One for Best Musical, which is incredible, and that is coming here at the end of this year in fall. And so this story continues to grow and grow and grow, and I'm a big fan of giving people their flowers before they die, and Essie Hinton ain't getting any younger, so I want to show her this year and the following years and as many years as she's here how much this really means to us. And I know she knows that, but in the past it was kind of like a burden for her because, when I look at her life, it could be like a Twilight Zone episode. You write a book at 15 and a half, and for the rest of your life, people are pulling on you, crying how much you've changed their life. It could be a bit surreal. So she's been recluse, as we know, but I think this museum and this musical has really opened her up to the possibilities, and I really think that she's under-celebrated, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that it's respectable and within her comfort zone, but maybe a little past her comfort zone, but we're going to make sure that she knows how much she means to us because it's, the flowers are no good when she's gone, right? So, are we good on time? Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Danny Boy and Ashley. To follow up on how well-beloved Essie Hinton is and her work is nationwide, Danny Boy in the Outsiders House has been a supporter of the Sandlot baseball thing that I talk so much about. He sponsors the team I started with, the Tulsa Rumblers. And I shared last week that we were hosting some teams from New Hampshire and from New Haven, Connecticut, and Hartford, Connecticut. And one of the things we do when we host people from out of town is we want to show them cool things in Tulsa. And in this situation, a bunch of them came to us and asked, hey, we hear the Outsiders House is here. Can we go see it? So we made a few calls, made it happen on Saturday. So again, to have a bunch of dudes in from in their 30s and 40s here to play baseball, and that's what they wanted to see. I think it really speaks to what Essie Hinton means to so many people, to so many generations in our country. So thank you again for everything you do. So upcoming programs. In addition to today's incredible program, I'm really excited for how we're going to close out the year. Next week will be we'll feature our grants, our Rotary Foundation grants, with Wendy Thomas will be our speaker, former Executive Director of Leadership Tulsa. On June 11th, I just confirmed it this morning, Tom Holliday, former Oklahoma State baseball coach and an ESPN analyst, patriarch of one of the most well-known Major League Baseball families, is going to be our speaker, and I'm so excited for that. June 18th, John Smith, Olympic gold medalist and former national champion coach of the Oklahoma State wrestling program. So yes, I did wait this long to full presidential privilege and feature my alma mater, Oklahoma State, but I know that both of them are going to be incredible speakers, whether you're an OSU fan or not. They've meant a lot to this state and to the sports, so I'm really looking forward to closing out my year as president on those two, on these 3 upcoming programs. Special thanks to gold sponsors, Weeby Trees, Tim Knoll, Max Electric Supply, Jack McGlumphy, Coldwell Banker Select, Sheree Gardner, OK Ethics, Mary Lytle, Farmers Insurance, Dave Bryant, Ellsworth Construction, Ryan Quattracci, Health Zone at St. Francis, Graydon Yohe. Silver meeting sponsors, Associated Mortgage Corporation, Chuck Wilson, Bank First, Paul Baumann and Bill Miller, Clear Ridge LLC, Matthew Bristow, Southern Millworks Incorporated, Bill Vogel. And this week's bronze sponsors, Argent Trust of Oklahoma, Kenny Brown and Harvey Rowe, PricewaterhouseCooper, Daniel Simone and Kevin McManus, Regent Bank, Elaine Dishman, Greg Boudreau, and Spirit Bank, Rhonda Hayes and T.C. Blair. Committee meeting, or meetings after today will be DAC-DB training in room 231. In honor of today's speaker, I wanted to close today's meeting on a quote from one of S.E. Hinton's, the book that actually followed The Outsider's House. That was Then, This Is Now, which is also a movie. It's a quote that I remember reading a long time ago, and sometimes I think about it, especially as I've raised two kids of my own who are now 13 and 7. So I just wanted to leave you with this one sentence that for some reason enters my head quite often. I wish I was a kid again when I had all of the answers. Thank you for joining us today.